Rob Dozer photos. Rob Dozer's arrival at the Indiana Fever is more than just a staff update. It's a cultural shift. Known for his time developing young NBA talent in the G League, Dozer brings a data-driven, individualized approach that signals the Fever's intention to go far beyond just playoff participation. KP photos, photo not found. His immediate collaboration with Keith Porter, still recovering from an Achilles tear, shows a commitment to continuity and player-specific coaching. With Dozer's experience aligning with the NBA's development model, the Fever aren't patching holes. They're building a system, brick by brick, centered around maximizing their roster's long-term growth.
If you're here for the real story and not the filtered version, subscribe. And if you're sticking around for the next meltdown, you better definitely subscribe.
This move clearly prioritizes Caitlin Clark's evolution as a franchise cornerstone. The focus isn't just about managing her workload or adjusting to the WNBA. It's about crafting a developmental path that refines her strengths and adds new dimensions to her game. By surrounding Clark with NBA-caliber insight and off-season stability, the Fever are investing in a framework designed not for immediate headlines, but sustained excellence. This signals a shift from reactive adjustments to forward-thinking infrastructure. Rooted in coaching precision and high performance, the Indiana Fever aren't just rebuilding. They're overhauling. And the first name on the chopping block? Stephanie White. After a turbulent rookie season dominated by headlines, expectations, and a tidal wave of scrutiny, the Fever have made it crystal clear. They're not waiting around for progress to show up. They're dragging it in, kicking down the door, and cleaning house in the process. And the first major shift? Stephanie White is out. Rob Dozer's in. And the franchise's priorities are more obvious than ever. Elevate Caitlin Clark or step aside. White's firing comes after mounting pressure, not just from fans and media, but from within. Reports point to Clark issuing what's now being described as a direct ultimatum. The team had to step up its player development game or risk wasting her rookie contract and the astronomical momentum she's brought to the league. The Fever chose their side. And if you're still wondering whether the league revolves around Clark right now, this move settles it. This isn't about drama. This is about performance. The Fever barely scratched the playoffs, and even with Caitlin Clark's individual brilliance lighting up highlight reels and packing arenas, the team couldn't match the scale of the hype she generated. The front office clearly saw the writing on the wall. They weren't going to risk being the franchise that squandered the most marketable talent in women's sports. So they did something rare for the WNBA. They acted fast. No dragging it into the offseason. No drawn-out PR campaign. Just one headline. Stephanie White is gone, and Rob Dozer has been brought in as a new player development coach, effective immediately. Dozer's arrival signals a complete change in approach. He's not here to play politics. He's not here to ride out another middling season. Dozer is here to develop. Period. CC angry, with a background rooted in NBA systems, including time with the Washington Wizards and G League experience with the Mad Ants. Dozer represents everything the Fever were missing. A player-first, development-driven mindset, NBA-caliber methods, data-backed progress, and a coaching style that focuses on specialized, individualized skill building rather than generic team drills. That's what Clark reportedly wanted, and what she made clear she needed. She's already been under a microscope every single night of her rookie season. She's been targeted by defenses, overloaded with pressure, and asked to carry the weight of an entire franchise while being used like a Swiss Army knife. Point guard, scorer, leader, savior. What she's been missing is a team built around her growth, not just her presence. Dozer is now tasked with creating that exact environment. It's not about quick fixes or flashy plays. It's about long-term development, technical refinement, strategic counters, the kind of training that extends careers and transforms star players into legends. And it's not just about Clark, either. The Fever are sending a message to the entire roster. We're building a system designed to elevate, not patch holes, not just survive another season, but evolve, excel, compete. This isn't just speculation. The timeline confirms it. The hire happened early in the offseason, in November, when most franchises are still in evaluation mode. The Fever aren't evaluating. They're acting. by onboarding Dozer now. They're giving the coaching staff the full offseason to implement NBA-style development frameworks, from film breakdowns to sports science integration, to custom skill plans for every player. That means Clark gets a full runway to reset, train smarter, and build a more complete arsenal before next season tips off. And while Keith Porter is still recovering from his Achilles injury, the organization's choice to keep him on staff shows their commitment to continuity. It's not just about bringing in new blood. It's about creating a collaborative coaching structure, one that blends institutional knowledge with new expertise. Dozer and Porter will now work in tandem, merging insights from the NBA, G League, and WNBA, and tailoring it to a Fever roster full of potential that's been waiting for. There's also something bigger happening here. The Fever are leveraging their relationship with the Pacers and the Mad Ants, both Indiana-based NBA organizations, to create a development pipeline that mimics NBA systems. It's not just helpful, it's essential. Because in today's game, you can't build a championship team without elite development. You need film, analytics, physical conditioning, recovery protocols. You need coaches who know how to refine footwork, how to build confidence after bad stretches, how to teach counter moves against blitz defenses that have studied every second of your tape. And you especially need that when your star is Caitlin Clark. Clark isn't a mystery to anyone. Everyone in the league is watching her. Every opponent is preparing to disrupt her rhythm. Every fan is analyzing her growth. That kind of attention is both a blessing and a burden. If the Fever want to protect their investment and their future, they need to ensure she has every tool available to adapt, survive, and thrive under the spotlight. That's why this hiring is so much bigger than a staff change. It's a philosophical shift. The Fever are no longer content being a team with hype and no hardware. They're making real moves towards sustainable success. And that starts with treating development like a core strategy, not an afterthought. Dozer's transition from the G League to the WNBA also reflects something that's been happening quietly across pro basketball. The best development minds are no longer confined to the men's side. The WNBA is finally tapping into that pool of expertise. And if the Fever can use that to create a culture of constant, specialized growth, they'll be light years ahead of teams still stuck in outdated systems. That matters for Clark, but it also matters for the league. Because Caitlin Clark's career is more than a highlight reel. She represents a broader movement. She's the proof that women's sports can drive massive economic value, can sell out arenas, and can demand elite infrastructure, but only if teams are willing to build it. And the Fever? They're building it. They're not chasing shiny distractions. They're starting at the core: staff, development, coaching, collaboration, NBA-style training methods. They're betting that championships aren't won with slogans. They're won with sweat data and off-season that actually makes players better. So no, this isn't drama. This is strategy. Stephanie White's firing wasn't just about a win-loss record. It was about the direction of the franchise. The Fever chose structure, growth, accountability. And they chose Caitlin Clark's ceiling over the comfort of continuity. Whether you love it or hate it, this is the new WNBA reality. The Fever have officially declared themselves as more than just playoff hopefuls. They're building a championship contender, not someday, but now. And Caitlin Clark's ultimatum? It might have just saved them from wasting her prime. What do you think? Was this the right move for the Fever? Can Rob Dozer actually unlock Clark's next level and turn this roster into a powerhouse? Or is the pressure to deliver on Clark's potential too much for any coaching staff to handle? Hit that like button if you think the league needs more teams willing to invest like this. Share it with someone who's still underestimating how serious this rebuild really is. Drop your thoughts in the comments. We want to hear if you're backing the new era of the Indiana Fever. And don't forget to subscribe, because this offseason isn't just about trades and stats. It's about setting the tone for what women's basketball is going to be from here on out. Because if you think this is just another offseason adjustment, think again. This is a line in the sand moment for the Indiana Fever, and maybe for the WNBA itself. Caitlin Clark drew it. The front office crossed it. And Stephanie White? She didn't make it to the other side. RD Photos. Let's get serious. Nobody fires their head coaches early in the offseason without knowing exactly what kind of message it sends. This wasn't a quiet parting of ways. This was a loud, echoing statement. The Fever are no longer here to play it safe. They're not here for participation banners. They're here to build around Caitlin Clark, and they're not afraid to make seismic moves to do it. And Clark's reported ultimatum? That was the fuse. A clear demand for change. Not just lip service, not vague promises, real structural upgrades. She wanted development. She wanted direction. She wanted coaching that matches the level of expectation the league, the media, and the fans have placed on her shoulders since the moment she was drafted. And the Fever said, okay, let's do it. That brings us back to Rob Dozer, the new hire who's not just a coach, but a symbol of what the Fever want to become. With Dozer's NBA and G League background, this move isn't about traditional XS and OS. It's about evolution. He's stepping in with experience in player development at the professional level, which means he knows how to take raw talent and turn it into results. And that's exactly what Caitlin Clark needs right now. Not just encouragement, not just clout, but precision coaching. She doesn't need a babysitter. She needs a blueprint. And that's what this entire shift is about. The Fever aren't relying on one coach to turn the team around. They're re-engineering the entire structure, piece by piece, keeping Keith Porter on staff, even as he rehabs from an Achilles tear, shows that they're building a cohesive unit, not just cycling through names. It's a real team effort, not a panic hire. This rebuild is about creating a high-performance ecosystem, modeled after NBA systems, infused with G League grit, and adapted for WNBA demands. That means data analytics, individualized player programs, workload monitoring, and real-time feedback loops. This isn't theory. This is what NBA stars get every day. And now, Clark's going to get it too. Because the truth is, the WNBA has been lagging in this area for far too long. For years, teams have been under-resourced, underfunded, and reactive instead of proactive. Most franchises haven't had the staff or tools to offer the kind of elite, personalized development that's standard across the NBA. And when Clark entered the league, she forced that reality into the... You can't ask someone to be the face of a generation and then give them outdated systems and shallow support. Not when she's selling out arenas and pulling in millions for the local economy. Not when she's under relentless defensive pressure every game. And definitely not when she's expected to carry a team from lottery pick to playoff contender overnight. So the Fever adjusted, quickly. And if that meant firing their head coach, so be it. Because from now on, the franchise is all in on building the infrastructure for long-term success. They're using their ties with the Pacers and the Mad Ants not just for resources, but for philosophy. One that centers growth over gimmicks, systems over guesswork. And this is where the Dozer hire gets really interesting. His move from the G League to the WNBA is part of a larger trend. Talented developmental coaches shifting their focus from the men's game to the women's side. Why? Because that's where the innovation is happening now. That's where there's room to grow, to build, to leave a legacy. The Fever know this, and they're acting like it by hiring early. In November, they bought themselves a full off-season of focused development. No Russian stalls. No last-minute adjustments. Dozer and the staff now have months to work one-on-one with Clark and the rest of the roster, refining shooting mechanics, strengthening core movements, building counters for double teams, and conditioning for endurance over a long season. And that's what's going to matter most for Clark going into year 2. Not highlights, not endorsements. Execution. She's got the spotlight. Now she needs a system that allows her to stay in it without burning out. Because if there's one thing the Fever can't afford, it's another season of surviving instead of thriving. Clark isn't just a basketball star. She's a financial engine, a cultural icon. Her arrival already delivered a $36 million bump to the Indianapolis economy. She's the reason merchandise is flying off the shelves, why local media has dedicated full-time coverage to the team, why national broadcasts are featuring Fever games in prime. And if you think the pressure's going to lessen in year 2, think again. It's only going up. Expectations are rising, and the team must rise with them. That's why this coaching decision is so critical. It sets the tone. It says, "We're not here to waste time or talent. We're building a championship infrastructure, even if it means making difficult decisions early. And that includes moving on from someone like Stephanie White, who had tenure, familiarity, and leadership experience. But the truth is, familiar isn't always effective. And the Fever couldn't afford to wait another year to find out. They had to shift now, while Clark's development arc is still moldable, while the momentum is still hot. This isn't just about wins. This is about positioning, about keeping up with the moment, because the modern game is changing. Data-driven coaching, individualized training plans, strategic rest, sports psychology, these aren't luxuries anymore. They're requirements. And the Fever's willingness to adopt that mindset signals a real shift in WNBA team culture. They're no longer satisfied with being a team that just shows up and hopes for the best. They're building like contenders. They're using NBA methods, NBA development, NBA urgency. And now, the challenge becomes consistency. Hiring Dozier is just a first step. What comes next? Tracking development progress, maintaining culture, keeping roles defined, managing expectations internally and externally, protecting Clark from burnout while still sharpening her as a competitor. It's a delicate balance, but it's a winnable one if the foundation is strong. And this offseason, that's what it's all about. The Fever aren't just drafting players or upgrading their facilities. They're putting the right minds in the right places. And that matters, because a team isn't just talent. It's structure. It's trust. It's a system that knows how to get 1% better every day, not just in theory, but in practice. Rob Dozier's task now is to translate NBA-level resources into WNBA outcomes. And Caitlin Clark's task? Keep leading. Keep growing. Keep demanding more. Because if this offseason proves anything, it's that her voice matters. Her presence forces action. And the Fever, by making bold, fast, and strategic moves, are finally starting to act like a franchise that understands what they have. Clark's not just a player. She's leverage. She's momentum. She's a blueprint for the future of the WNBA. And the Fever just decided to build with her, not around her. SW photos, there's no going back now. The Fever just made the kind of high-stakes pivot that doesn't come with a safety net. Firing Stephanie White wasn't just a coaching change. It was a public declaration. They're done playing it safe. They're done hoping potential turns into progress on its own. They're engineering it now. And that means everyone from top to bottom is on notice. Let's call it what it is. Caitlin Clark changed the stakes. Before she arrived, the Fever were stuck in a rebuild cycle with no clear end in sight. A young roster, decent pieces, but no urgency, no clear identity. Then Clark walks in and everything flips. Suddenly, every game matters. Every decision is scrutinized. Every missed opportunity is a headline. RD photos, she brought the spotlight. The team had to decide if they were ready to operate under it. And that's why this offseason feels so different. The Fever aren't reacting. They're building. From the inside out, the Dozier hire isn't about filling a spot on the bench. It's about laying a new foundation. NBA-caliber systems. Customized growth plans. Off-court structure that mirrors the league's top organizations. Because the WNBA is evolving. Fast. You can see it in the marketing, in the new ownership groups, in the sponsorships, in the viewership numbers, but most importantly, in the players. Today's WNBA stars aren't just athletes. They're brands, influencers, cultural touchstones. And they're demanding more from the organizations that surround them. Caitlin Clark didn't invent this movement, but she's the one turning up the volume. She's already being held to the standards of global icons. Compared to Messi, outranking Curry in marketability reports, pulling in a Nike deal worth $28 million. And she's doing all that before she's even had the chance to reach her full potential, which is exactly why this infrastructure shift matters. The Fever have to meet her where she's going, not where she is. And that means development, not hype, not gimmicks, not empty slogans about believing in the process. Actual development. Measured, tracked, intentional progress. The kind of support system that lets a generational player grow into everything she's capable of, instead of just surviving the media circus and league pressure that now follow her everywhere. This is what Rob Dozer has been brought in to do. He's not coming from a college system. He's coming from the NBA's proving grounds, the G League, a place where development is the entire job, where you take young, raw, often overlooked players and turn them into real contributors, where success is measured not by hype, but by efficiency, adaptability, and execution. Now that mindset is coming to the Fever. And more importantly, it's coming early. Dozer gets a full off-season to build relationships, to study film, to learn Clark's tendencies, to work with trainers and integrate performance science into her day-to-day routine, to develop drills that specifically counter the defensive schemes she's already facing. That matters, because Clark isn't a mystery anymore. The league has film on her now. Teams are studying her habits. Coaches are preparing entire game plans to stop her. And without a system designed to evolve with her, she'd be stuck relying on talent alone. But with the right support, she becomes unstoppable. That's what the Fever are banking on. They're not chasing a miracle run. They're creating conditions for sustained excellence. And if you've been following the WNBA long enough, you know how rare that is. Too many teams wait until it's too late, until the star wants out, until the window has closed. The Fever? They're moving now because they know what's at stake. Caitlin Clark isn't just the face of a franchise. She's the face of a movement. And that movement needs wins. It needs smart coaching. It needs modern systems. It needs a franchise that doesn't just want to ride the wave, but one that knows how to build from it. This is what that looks like. Let us know what you think. Was the firing justified? Is this finally the structure Clark deserves? Will the Fever deliver on the promise they're building? Tap the like button if you're watching this transformation unfold in real time. Share it with someone who still doesn't get how serious this shift is. And drop your thoughts in the comments, because if this is the new Indiana Fever, then the rest of the league better start catching up. Fast.